Hey team, hope everybody's having a fantastic week. Uh, This weather has been crazy right now. I can't believe it's February, but yeah, sure enough, we're having it. So hope everybody's semester, both in this class and in all of your MBA classes, is off to a great start. I've enjoyed getting to meet with several of you over the phone, a few of you in person, and please know that if there's anything that I can do to be helpful in this class, in your tenure at UTC, or professionally, I'm more than happy to be of service to you guys. Just please feel free to reach out. Happy to set up a time for us to have an appointment together. With that said, too, congratulations to you guys on your HubSpot scores. This is far and above the best performances I've seen on your inbound certifications. If you have not gotten those scores to me yet, please do so as soon as possible. If you haven't, make sure to let me know if there's a reason. Those are due today. Yeah, I need your HubSpot scores straight away on this. I think this is a really valuable certification, so I'd encourage you to add that to your resume, add it to your LinkedIn profile, certainly as well. And if you're in the marketing department, or even if you're not, I would inform your superiors about this certification at your current job. I think it could open up some great opportunities for you, and certainly will look good to your boss. This is a very valuable certification. So congratulations to all you guys on your hard work on this. Well, as you saw earlier, tonight we're going to be talking about one of the most important components of digital marketing, and that's a website. Right? I consider a website as the central hub of your digital ecosystem. It's where everything online and offline, is designed to push for modern marketers, right? Whether we're talking about email marketing, hoping to drive click throughs, social media, largely pushing to some type of objective on your website, whether that's an opt in or a purchase, whether it's your content marketing that you're placing out in the form of white papers and things like that, right? I mean, those things need to be hosted somewhere. Perhaps it's Google AdWords that you've created in search engine marketing, or Google Display Ads. Things like that. You've got everything online pointing at your website. Similarly, offline largely is designed now to point to an ecosystem at some level. Right, radio advertising at its best is designed to point to a website, right? Word of mouth marketing. These people need somewhere to gain more information about your product. And things like out of home advertising, like billboards or direct marketing pieces that you've engaged in. Your website is the central hub, it's the central ecosystem for your marketing efforts. Right, and the important thing to know about websites accordingly is how important and how critical they are to your marketing efforts. Right, 75% of consumers, 3 out of 4 consumers, judge a company's credibility based on a website's design. Right, I mean, and that makes sense if you take off your marketing hat and think about that as a consumer. If you go to a restaurant's website and the words are misspelled, or the website is poorly designed, perhaps it's not mobile compatible, things like that. If they've paid that little attention to the efficacy of their website, why should you believe that they've done a quality job on anything else that they do in their place of business? Making that even more critical and more risky for brands is that the average consumer only gives a website half a second to where they decide whether it's good or bad, right? And that sounds incredibly harsh, but once again, take off your marketing hat and put your consumer hat on, and that's what we all do. We can look at a website very quickly and decide whether it's good or bad. right? I mean, you open the screen, and if it's difficult to read, if you're not seeing right away immediately what you want, we know that incredibly quickly. Making that problem even worse is that nearly 9 out of every 10 consumers say that after that half second, if they deem your website as bad, they'll never come back. Right? So you lost your one opportunity. Three out of four consumers say that you are they're placing a judgment about your company based on your website design. They make that assessment in only a half a second, and if you mess up, 9 out of 10 of those people say that they'll never come back to your website. Wow, it's really important to have a great website, isn't it? It's really great for that, important for that website to be great right away. I think winning websites that are successful, don't happen by accident, right? Winning websites only happen when there's a concerted design and a concerted strategy for that design from day one, right? Winning websites don't happen because you had a creative person. Winning websites don't happen because you had a wizard for a search engine optimization person. Winning websites happen because of winning strategies. I think those strategies start out with one of four objectives, and I think at most, winning websites only try to accomplish 1 to 2, maybe 3 of these things. Certainly, all four is a very challenging, proposition for companies. Number one would be to inform. Right, this is where you're literally just sending information, providing quality information to your target market. Right, the goal of informing your consumers by simply providing information is to establish confidence and build a level of trust with your consumer. Right, excuse me. You want to make them incredibly familiar with your company. You're wanting them to begin to establish a relationship, right? Think about a restaurant website for this, right? They're not necessarily trying to sell you dinner on the website. Perhaps their main goal isn't even to book reservations on this, right? They're not necessarily hoping that you'll put your email address in to generate leads for this. Literally, what they're doing is wanting to tell you about the type of food that you'll eat at their restaurant, perhaps tell you some information about the chef or the history of the business, things like that. They're trying to establish confidence in their restaurant and build a level of trust with their future patrons. The second objective you can have is to generate leads. This is a website that doesn't necessarily engage in e-commerce, but this is a website that perhaps it's designed to get you to opt in with an email address. Perhaps they're wanting to sign you up for a walkthrough of their tool, or to schedule a consultation, or to qualify yourself in some way to lead you down the marketing funnel. Not necessarily to close the deal, but to put you down the marketing funnel in some way, shape, or form. This is largely what software websites and increasingly what the goal of business-to-business websites is designed to do. They're not trying to get the sale all in one fell swoop. They're simply trying to generate a lead to start you down the marketing funnel. Number 3, winning websites can provide the objective of sales. When we sell things online through e-commerce, we're either wanting to provide a faster, easier, or cheaper way for a consumer to purchase items from us, right? There needs to be a reason why you're purchasing online as opposed to in the store, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be cheaper, but if it's not going to be cheaper, at some level there should be a benefit to the consumer to purchase online, right? This might be because you're alleviating some sort of strain. Maybe it's going to the store. Right, maybe to save them time. Perhaps it's simply easier to buy it online than it is to go to the store, right? So winning websites that are designed to actually sell things they have to be designed from the start. They're constructed differently. They're designed differently so that objective is front and center for consumers. And so that, that's accomplished easier, right? That's very different than simply informing, right? You might place your buttons on your website differently. Your calls to action will certainly be differently on a website that's designed to sell things as opposed to informing, and your verbiage will be much different when you're selling things than generating leads. You're already learning about that in both Jab in the form of social media on the social media side, but hopefully you're already covering starting to notice some of that language in Nicely Said as well. Right, and finally, and certainly not least, an objective can be to provide superior customer service to your target market. Right, the reason that we would want to provide that customer service on a website is to provide an increased level of control over the conversation to the company. Right, just as you would invite someone into your office for a private conversation at your workplace, it's helpful to provide those customer service conversations in a controlled area that you know that the conversation is actually happening, right? That it's not just happening across the internet where a company can't respond to it easily. But, you're able to do that in a way that quarantines some of the negative messages so that you're just able to handle that issue on an interpersonal basis with the customer. Right? So customer service on a website has to be designed intentionally so that, and your other marketing efforts need to funnel to that customer service resource so that you're not providing that same level of customer service in disparate areas, right? You want to point them in the right direction. One of the things that I tell folks is that if you have a website just because everybody else does, you'll get what everybody else does, which is largely a failing website, right? A significant portion of the websites that we see across the web are not doing a great job for their clients. They simply have a website because that's what they think that businesses should do. But what they're not doing is updating that website properly or even designing it properly from the very beginning. All right, so let's plan for website success. How do we do that? How do we even begin deciding at the very beginning that we're going to have a website that is good as opposed to a website that is just one size fits all? Well, first you're going to start by defining your purpose, right? We just talked about what those categories are. What's the entire goal of our website? What do we want our consumers to actually do on our website? You'll be amazed at how many brands don't even stop to do this portion. Right, next you'll identify your unique service or your unique sales proposition with this. Right, you might have already done this with your company if you're already an established company, but I think it's important to revisit this when you make something as important as your website. And so, when we create a USP, what we're doing is we're establishing what the lay of the land is for our present circumstances for our company. Right, as I've been told by some of my friends in the military, when you're placed in a challenging situation where maybe there's enemies surrounding you or it's a dangerous situation, the very first thing that the military teaches you to do, instead of just firing your weapon or running or anything like that, is to stop for a second and notice your surroundings. Right, get your bearings, establish what the battlefield actually looks like around you. Right, and so what you need to do with that is list what you know about your current target market and what needs you can meet from them. Right, at the same time, we don't exist in a bubble as a business, and so the reality is that there are industry dynamics going on. Perhaps we're in a recession, or perhaps demand for your product is at an all-time high. Well, that's important to know because it might mean there's more of a competitive environment. Just as you establish what you know about your audience and the needs that you can meet for them, identify what who your chief competitors are and what insights you can gain from their marketing efforts and what needs they're meeting for their audience as well. What you can do that after that is list what you knew about yourself and your audience, and then industry and competitors. Match those up and find some gaps and opportunities. What's a need that your target market has that maybe you or your competitors aren't meeting effectively. After you found those gaps and opportunities, finally, it's time to look at what you're best at. Not just what you're good at, not what you can do, but what's your company best at doing. And, that's really what the thrust of your website needs to be. Just as nicely said and mentions in pages 16 to 23, it's also helpful at some level if you can talk in person to your target market. And so I think their interview section on page 16 through 23 is very, very quality. Next, you want to create SMART goals for your website, right? You want to actually say, what is it that I'm hoping my website does? I think if you don't have goals for a site, right, you don't know whether a site's successful or not, and it just ends up sitting there. Your goals need to be specific to the website, so it's something that your website can accomplish, right? We're not tying our salesmen or saleswomen's success to our website, or we're not necessarily tying in-store sales to our website, perhaps. This needs to be specific to your website. Your goals need to be measurable as well. You need to be able to tell whether you accomplish them or not. So, perhaps a goal like that is increase website traffic by 10% in 2019, right? That 10% is your measurable goal. You'll be able to tell whether that went up or down. Next, you need to look at the achievability of those goals, right? I mean, is your goal realistic in nature, right? If you're a startup company and your goal is to become the number one e-commerce platform in the entire world in 1 year, right? That's not really an achievable goal, right? Your goal needs to be relevant to the website. It needs to be pertinent to the site and pertinent to what you're actually trying to accomplish for your company. And finally, it needs to be timely as well, right? So, it needs to have a date tied to it.